Gardening, I know it seems kind of intimidating, but think about it. We have plants literally all around us. So creating a garden, it's just trial and error. Right outside WLTX, we have plants all season long that we use to talk about weather and climate change and share tips on how to grow delicious food here in the Midlands. And after many hours of planting and a few warm weeks from Mother Nature, it's really coming to life. I planted all of these a few weeks ago, and now they're starting to take shape and they're about to be really delicious. So let's take a tour of a few of the things we're growing in the garden right now. Those pepper plants actually came back from the seeds that were just dropped on the ground last year. I didn't plant them at all. Look at this. We have lots of peppers. This, I know, it's gonna make your mouth water in a bad way, right? It's a jalapeno pepper. You're probably thinking I should be wearing gloves, but this one is called a fooled you jalapeno pepper. It does not have any of the spice, but it has all the flavor of regular jalapeno peppers. Look at all of these cherry tomatoes. This one's called Sweet Million, if you can imagine why. Fast forward 10 days and they're ready to pick. They're so much tastier than the tomatoes at the store. Those are picked before they're red, especially during the winter time because they ship easier. In the garden, you can pick tomatoes as the sun ripens them one by one. So they're really sweet. You have your indeterminate type that grows like a vine, and then you have your determinate type of tomato. Those grow a little bit more shrubby. The indeterminate ones will just keep on producing sporadic fruit throughout the whole season, and the determinate one, you just get a bunch of fruit at once. Zucchini fruit can grow huge when they're left on the plant for a long time, but they actually taste better when they're about a foot long or less. I started most of my zucchini plants back in April, but they mature fast, so seeds can be planted even during the middle of summer. These seedlings are only 2 weeks old. They'll fruit in about 2 months, but you can eat much sooner from a zucchini plant. One of my favorite things to eat are zucchini flowers. These blossoms are so delicious. They're buttery. You want to make sure you pick a male one. The male ones have a very long stem. Those won't produce fruit. You can see there's plenty of fruit, and then that's a female flower that's spent, and that's the zucchini fruit that's coming. Summer squash like zucchini, you pick those and they go bad after a few days. Winter squash like butternut, that will actually last months without going in the freezer because it has that harder skin. And a winter squash can be a summer squash if you pick it soon enough, but if you let it get ripe on the vine, you can, save it all winter long. And that's why butternut squash, even though it grows in the summer, you associate it with like Thanksgiving or Christmas. The deer look like they had a nice little feast now that I'm looking at it. That's so disappointing. This was Malabar spinach. What's not big enough, the parsley. The parsley's untouched. So this is an example of a plant that you can grow that the deer aren't going to like as much. This one's pretty decent. I love the smell of parsley. Do you see these flowers coming up? You want to pick the basil before it blooms, so it's important that you actually continue to pick it. You shouldn't feel bad about picking basil constantly because the plant is going to spend all of its time and energy into producing these flowers unless you keep taking them off. Deer don't love the herbs because of their very strong scent, and herbs love South Carolina. Rosemary, mint, and oregano easily survive the winter cold and the summer heat. Oregano stays small and loses its leaves in the wintertime, but it comes back in the spring, and they have beautiful flowers too. Flowers are one of the most rewarding parts of growing a garden. This cardoon plant makes edible and pretty leaves all winter long, and then gorgeous blooms during the summertime. They're related to artichokes and look really freaky. Zinnia and sunflowers are such a joy to see in the garden and are so easy to clip and make beautiful bouquets for inside the house. All right, I did my job. The gardening is finished. I picked some delicious produce and greens. Now I'm gonna toss things over to my friend Caroline at the Richland Library, who's gonna show us some delicious recipes to incorporate this in.